Okay, and we are recording.
Hello, and welcome to episode 84 of Cutscene Convos. We have got a monster episode this week. Our character profile is Aquaman. We've got Ahsoka episode 7. We've got the Martin Scorsese interview, which is causing quite a ruckus on the old social medias. We've got some very good and some very big updates about SAG-AFTRA WGA situation. We've got a Nerd News Network, mainly focused around DC, but seems like good stuff for a change, which is lovely. And we've got our content championship, which is Clone Wars versus X-Men Origins Wolverine, the first of our second round in the content championship bracket. But before all that lovely stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
It's been an interesting week, I feel. So my parents have been away, so that's had the house to myself. Well, somewhat had the house to myself. The girlfriend's been round, though she's then not been well this week. So
Oh no,
I've ended up just looking after her. So
phenomenal.
it's fine, is what it is. Better that she's here, not well, and rather than her being in
100%.
Manchester. So
You'd rather her be close so you can help her out.
yeah, timed it well. Other than that, getting started on an interesting project,
Fun.
KCP, and then just kind of work things. Some work things kind of chilling out. Editing work's kind of chilled out a little bit at the moment. Figuring out the world of freelance and trying to find the next big projects and stuff. But
yeah,
overall, pretty chill week. Just kind of plodded along this week. Not much has really gone on. How's your week been?
have you ever had a project that you are certain is going to be a shit show and then just isn't?
Yeah.
I had that this week and it was kind of jarring. And the entire time I was like waiting for the other shoe to drop and it just didn't.
Yeah.
As far as I knew, leaving work on Friday, no paperwork about like what needs to be done had been started. So I was like, oh, this is going to be chaos. And all the people working on it aren't in next week. So this is going to be great. But they got it done Friday afternoon, evening. It was all there. It all made sense. I cracked on. It was all done quickly. I did it under schedule. I'm just like, oh, so we can do this stuff, guys.
Yeah. Where's the big fuck up?
Yeah, no, literally, like, so I was supposed to be working on this Monday and Tuesday. It wasn't ever supposed to be a huge project. And I'd finished it by like 11 a.m. Tuesday. And literally, like, even as I was getting ready to go home Wednesday, I was like, I'm just waiting for someone to go, there's a massive problem. But it never happened. I was like, sweet. Maybe they did do it all right in the first place. So yeah, that was good. But other than that, I've been trying to speed run essentially my way through the beginning of Cyberpunk to get to the part of the story where you unlock Phantom Liberty.
See, I was trying to speed run to the point where then I have freedom to go and look for things. Because like you can't really do anything until you got Johnny Silverhand.
Yeah.
So it's like I just speed run through that first. And I forgot how long it is. How long it takes for that game to actually start.
Well, it took me 5 hours to get past the heist.
Right.
And like to the point where you want to get to. And that was me like having already done it 3 times, knowing how to do it as quickly as possible, and just like head down gunning it, knowing like in like the brain dance sequences what I'm already looking for, so like I'm doing it as quickly as possible.
Do you know what's funny? It's like I haven't done that since it first came out. But it's like all of it started. I'm like, oh, I remember this bit now. Yeah, I know what's coming. Oh, yeah, this bit. Right, come on, get through this.
I'm loving the 2.0 update so much.
Oh,
it's so good.
It's been great for the game.
It's a lot and it's so nice because me and you have always loved this game ever since it came out. We were like, I get some of the complaints, but overall, I think people are overreacting. There's a very good game here. And now for us to be sat here going, everyone sees it how we've always seen it is very, very nice. I actually got really, really worried before I booted it up. Like,
Hmm.
what if they've changed it so much and everyone else now loves it and I don't like it anymore? Like, there was just that moment, like,
Yeah.
what if they've changed it too much? But they haven't. They've absolutely nailed it.
No, I think they've done a great job. It's like a No Man's Sky situation again. They have actually redeemed themselves. There'll be definitely some
100%.
people that refuse to accept that it might be a good game now. And don't get me wrong, I've already had some bugs. I've once
been
again,
T-posed on a couple of times.
yeah, I've had some funny animation bugs in cutscenes, which is all I
It's
got
always
last
part of the
time.
charm of these big games, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting upset about a character randomly T-posing at the start of a cutscene, it's just funny.
I mean, at the end of the day, one of your favorite games ever is Skyrim,
Yeah.
and I've got like nearly 100 hours in Starfield. We're playing Bethesda games as some of our favorite games. We expect bugs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we
Speaking
grew
of
up on
which,
that. Oh.
jumping between Starfield and Cyberpunk. So I've been streaming Cyberpunk, and Starfield has become my personal time game.
Yeah.
Which means I'm like playing Starfield for an hour before I have dinner, and then it's streaming Cyberpunk. And their controls are similar,
But not quite.
but not quite. So like interact in Cyberpunk is E, whereas interact in Cyberpunk is F, whereas in Starfield it's E,
Yeah.
which means I'm like running up to doors in Cyberpunk and just spamming E and getting really confused why the door's not opening. Or like I spawned in and I'm like, right, where's my next waypoint in Cyberpunk? So I've turned around and see where it is. I jump off a bridge and try and like use my jetpack, and I just don't have a jetpack, so I fucking fall.
Oh, that's funny.
Chaos.
I've been
Absolute
switching
chaos.
between did a bit of Cyberpunk and it's like going back to DayZ, and I'm like, this is completely different. Vehicles handle differently. I'm not in a cyberpunk world. I'm in a post-apocalyptic world. Let's figure this out. But yeah, I know what you mean. Jumping between games can be rough sometimes.
Especially when they're like really similar but not quite. Your brain is just like, no, it's the same thing. Especially because a lot of what I've been doing on Starfield is set on Neon, which is their cyberpunk planet. So like, even the aesthetics aren't a huge jump. So my brain is just like, no, this is the same thing. But let's get into our character profile.
Yes.
So last week I did Black Manta. And I'm gonna put a comment on blast from the Black Manta video because it came in today and it had me scratching my brain. The comment was, why does it have to be Black Manta? And then I was like, shit, have I fucked up here? Did they actually change it so the character's just called Manta now and I was just like using an outdated term? So I spent 5-10 minutes Googling to make sure. No, the character's still called Black Manta. Okay. The person was waffling at me for no reason.
The person was crying about the character's name.
Yeah. Don't come at me with your bullshit problems.
If you have an issue with it, go to DC about it.
Yeah, go moan at DC about it. We moan at DC every week. Anyway.
That's true.
Now, last week's Black Manta was based on pre-New 52. This Aquaman is post-New 52.
Oh.
Which means this Black Manta that might be referenced in this character profile is not the same Black Manta. Because DC continuity be a bit confusing.
Yeah. Even in the films.
Yep. So, Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, is the half-human, half-Atlantean child of Tom Curry and Atalana. I'm not 100% sure how that's supposed to be pronounced. After being born, his mother left to return to Atlantis, leaving his father to raise him alone. Oh, pardon me. At a young age, Arthur's heritage began to show, and his father, unsure of how to safely and properly raise his superpowered child, turned to a scientist. After many years of tests and working out how everything works, the doctor announced that he was going to release his research to the public. In an effort to protect his child, Tom Curry broke into the research lab and destroyed or stole all of the research.
Oh, okay.
To protect his son.
Yep.
This caused the scientist to hire a treasure hunter known as Black Manta to go and steal back the remaining research.
Right.
However, the stress of the struggle caused Tom to die of a heart attack. Enraged at his father's death, Arthur Curry hunted down the so-called Black Manta and killed him.
Oh.
However, it was not actually Black Manta he killed, but
Oh.
Black Manta's father.
Oh.
He then became a bit of a recluse from society and wandered aimlessly for a number of years. Eventually, he was found by his mother's royal advisor, Volko, and brought to Atlantis, where he would be taught in the ways of his ancestors and would one day go on to rule as king. After a while, being the protector of Atlantis, the ruler of Atlantis, etc., etc., he became aware of I don't want to call it a plot, but he became more aware of a program, we'll call it, in which the Atlanteans had some sleeper cells active on the surface world.
Oh, okay.
In case Atlantis ever wanted to attack the surface world.
Interesting.
To which Aquaman went, no, absolutely fuck not. Told them all to come home. Told them all to stand down. After a little while, the role of the leader of Atlantis began to wear on Arthur, and he once again had this feeling of not being very at home, as he'd always felt like he was an outcast in his human life. He still felt the same even in Atlantis. Obviously, he was not truly fit in anywhere. So he left Atlantis behind to kind of continue exploring, helping the innocent and working out what was going on. Not long after leaving Atlantis, he came across a demon-like being, which was trying to activate some kind of device which would open a portal to a foreign planet.
Okay.
This being was a parademon sent by Darkseid to open up a portal to Earth.
Oh.
Arthur followed this beam to the surface, where he saw what could only be described as an agent invasion force of parademons. He joined the surface-dwelling heroes to fight them. These heroes included Wonder Woman, The Flash, Batman, Green Lantern, Superman.
Yep.
They went on to fight off the invasion and protect the Earth, and thus forming the Justice League. So this is how the New 52 Justice League was kind of formed. If anyone watched, I forget the name of it, there was the DC animated universe that started alongside the New 52. Adapted this kind of opening towards the Justice League and how they came together. Very, very good film. It's about 90 minutes long. I don't know if it's still there, but there is a way to watch it on YouTube in like 52-minute parts. But yeah, so that is Aquaman. I almost considered doing a character profile on him that matched up with Black Manta in the sense of pre-New 52.
Yeah.
What I realised was, which I never knew, is that Aquaman's actually a bit more of a complicated character than I realised when it comes to that, because there have been multiple Aquamans.
Oh.
And one was Arthur Curry, but he was like quite late, and he wasn't the original Aquaman. So I was kind of in a position of, I'm not 100% sure what's going on here, so I'm just going to leave it for now. And I thought I'd just go to post New 52, which does kind of also show the importance of me doing my research.
Yes.
Because I like, especially characters like Aquaman. Yeah, they're big and famous, and I know like the iconic bits, stuff like the baby, and like stuff that's made a lot of like noise. But I don't read Aquaman. Even now, I don't read Aquaman. He's not my character. He's not my guy. I don't I don't fuck with him like that. I don't like the ocean. It's scary.
I like the ocean.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You can read Aquaman then.
I will be the new Aquaman.
You're gonna have to shave the beard though. Like, just
Why?
imagine how horrible that beard hair would get being soaked in water constantly.
Plenty of surfers have beards.
Not good ones.
Whoa.
You got to have like long blonde hair, no? Justin Bieber vibe. Hell, it did. But yeah, that is Aquaman. No idea who
Very
will
cool.
do next week, but we shall see.
I'm sure we'll have something.
Are you aware, Horizontal, that we spent of the 3-hour episode last week about an hour and a half talking about Ahsoka?
Oh yeah, I'm well aware.
Cool. Want to see me do it again?
I mean, it's a good
Ahsoka
show.
episode 7.
I want to start off with the title of this show.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
It's called Dreams and Madness.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing any dreams or madness.
I mean, the episode itself was a madness.
I mean, you could say so, but there was definitely no dreams. I saw the title and I was like, ooh, flashback. But no flashbacks. I was very sad about that. Instead, we opened with another look at Coruscant.
Yeah, that was fun.
Back in the big city, in the, I guess, New Republic Court, I think it was called.
Yeah, it was the court or some kind of important office.
Where Hera was on trial for being a rebel.
Okay, so I know you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say.
Oh.
And I don't like. It's not as harsh as it's gonna sound because there are shades of grey here. But I don't completely disagree with the dickhead senator.
Okay.
Ziolo. Because what you've got to remember is we have wider context that he doesn't have. Which makes him look even worse. He's still handling it like a dick. But his point of this isn't a rebellion, this is a proper government, we have to have rules, otherwise what's the point?
Yeah.
Is valid.
Yeah.
And they did say, no, don't do this mission. You don't have credible evidence.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Only he, though, could take good points and be so unlikable that I don't care that they're good points.
His reasoning
that
of
actor is nailing it.
There was no solid evidence. We are a government. We're not meant to be doing this like looking for war shit anymore. Like, it makes sense. But he's a dick. So I don't care if he makes sense.
All of that kind of goodwill towards him in the sense of, like, I get where you're coming from. I went out the window when he referred to C-3PO as a mere droid.
Yes, and I was
I alongside Chopper was ready to clark him.
Chopper was so ready to throw hands. I
think Chopper just went, I'll show you a fucking mere droid.
I saw an edit on TikTok and it was like that moment and Chopper like goes forward and the pilot guy holds him back and then it like cuts to like a flashback montage of all the war crimes Chopper's committed, as if he's like, I will do these unspeakable things to you. I loved the C-3PO cameo.
I loved it so much. I'm so glad they did that instead of a really poorly de-aged CGI Carrie Fisher.
I think they know that would have been wrong to do, especially because she is no longer with us and you're playing with like into an area of things where they already know people would be unhappy with it. So I think they were smart. I'm pretty sure I forget the voice of C-3PO. I'm forgetting his name.
British dude.
Yeah, the actor. Why can his name escapes me? C-3PO.
Anthony Daniels.
Yes. I'm pretty sure I saw in the credits, it was his voice. I doubt it was him in the suit, as he is quite old now.
I don't think he's done the suit for a while now.
No, I don't think so. But at least they had his voice.
Yes, very important.
It was a very smart way of including the fact that Leia would be around during this time, and kind of having a bit of cameo and tie into the films.
Well, I mean, everyone was kind of pretty happy after the reference 2 episodes ago where Captain Tava was like, Leia said she can only cover for us for so long, we need to get heading back.
Yeah.
And everyone was like happy with that. Everyone was content with that. Like, yeah, go on, Leia, always with the rebels. We love you, blah, blah, blah. But then for her to send 3PO over just to save Hera from a court
Yeah.
martial is peak Leia Organa.
It was great.
And Bale would be proud.
I will say, it was a bit weird, Hera not having goggles on her head. Though, like seeing no headphones and no goggles, I was like, it looks weird. Bit like when we saw Ahsoka without her headband thing. Yeah. It was just like, this feels like I shouldn't be seeing this.
Yeah, it took me a second to work out what about it was confusing me, and then when it clicked, I was like, oh, I don't like that.
Oh,
the thing is, it didn't look bad. It just looked weird.
It was just yeah.
And I think when you're used to an animated character who is famously always going to look the same,
yeah, it's
even more noticeable.
Yeah. Going back to the dickhead guy, I am almost certain he must be on the Shadow Council. Like his points were valid, but the way he was acting about such things and trying to dismiss this whole Thrawn stuff, like completely like, oh, it's just this is a droid, like it's not worth it. Like we don't need to be talking about Thrawn. Almost made me feel like either he's on the Shadow Council or someone's paid him off to try and block this.
I'm of the opinion that he might not necessarily be Shadow Council involved, but he's of the opinion, I want no war, so I'm not going to look for it. And if it happens, I will just go to the winner.
Yeah, he's definitely the person who would pick the winning side. Yeah.
I feel like he would rather quash any qualms of we need to be prepared, so that if there is a war, they lose really quickly and he can just jump ship and go to the other team. And I feel like he'd be the exact same on the Empire side as well.
Also in that court scene, something I just remembered, I saw a thing that pointed out it was General Akbar.
Was it General Akbar? I knew it was a species, obviously, but I wasn't 100% sure.
So someone put a picture and it had like the same kind of colours and pattern on his head and a very similar looking, like the Admiral badge. So people are presuming that it was General Akbar, which is very cool.
Maybe General Akbar became a senator after the war ended.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I did notice it was his race, obviously, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Because there has been a long-standing and often fair criticism that Star Wars under Disney has not had as many alien species present.
Yeah.
So any opportunity to remind us that actually, when you look at the original trilogy, there's a fuck ton of different non-humanoid aliens. It's always nice when they remember to bring some of them back.
Well, it's Dave, isn't it? Dave's making sure that the right races and aliens are in the right places. I'm trying to remember. Oh, then we cut back. They went to Ahsoka in the ship, didn't it? Inside the whales.
Yep.
And we got a very cool moment of more Clone Wars Anakin through a recording. Go on.
I was really upset that he didn't call her Snips again. Because there's something about Hayden Christensen saying Snips that just itches my brain in the best way.
So I think he didn't say Snips because that was the last one he did. And when you think about when was the last time that Anakin talked to her or did some training, and it was like back when just before she left.
Yeah.
Or it would have been a lesson that he recorded for her that was when she came back to help them right at the end of things. But I wonder if that was a recording of, you know, when he takes her off to train her with the clone troopers and he's like listing off that you're not just going to be fighting droids, like and it's like, it was very much gave me the vibe of when he was doing that lesson of and teaching her how to survive essentially the clone troopers.
Yeah.
Which was very cool, kind of like almost parallel there. I know, I can't get enough.
All of the little callbacks have been done in a very good way that are additive and not distractive.
Yes.
And I think that is very important, um, especially when, as it seems currently, Filoni is trying to wrap up all of the old characters so that we can move on into a new era. I'm okay with it.
Hmm.
I'm only going to have a problem with it if, after we get all of this wrapped up, we just get more of the same characters again, and it's just more cameos for cameo's sakes. That's when it will
Yeah.
get a bit much. But if this is just to wrap it all up and then go into the future or into the past with new faces,
Mm.
perfect.
Yeah. And Ahsoka was back training with 2 sabers again, which is very cool to
Yep, yep,
see.
yep.
And practicing that. Oh, something I've just remembered about the court scene.
Yep.
There was the mention of Moff Gideon on Mandalore,
Yes. Yes.
and they were
He
like
was like, there
this.
is no evidence of Imperial
Yeah,
remnants.
he's
He's like,
just
what about Moff Gideon on Mandalore? He's like, he was a crime lord.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
with
just
Imperial technology.
brushed it off, not knowing that like, oh yeah, he was doing cloning, he was
That is
building
the biggest piece of evidence for him,
to be paid off.
yeah, or
Yeah.
being happy with the level of corruption that exists.
But with that, that puts us. We now know where the timeline lies up with Mandalore. Like this is
Yeah,
whether
they're semi-parallel.
semi-parallel. This more so just after
Yeah,
Mandalorian season 3. So we got that, and then they appeared out of hyperspace, and the whales got absolutely bombarded. But we didn't see
I
any
don't
die.
think any died. Yeah,
We didn't see
I'm
any
going to go
die.
ahead and say they all survived.
Some absolute tanky motherfuckers, those things. But they were very much, and rightfully so, went, yeah, no, we're out, and just dipped.
Yeah, it made me very sad to see them get hurt so much.
The minefield was ridiculous. Like that, like when it did the wide angle shot and you saw like all the mines just like in rows, it was ridiculous how many there were.
Yeah, it was wild.
Has Thrawn just kind of been like, how many were on his ship? Because like we've only seen them before be dropped by TIE fighters, and they hold like
No.
3 or 4. So he must have
I
had a
really don't know.
stockpile for some reason.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah,
just don't ask so many questions.
but they escaped. Thrawn
Yeah,
showing his tactical prowess straight
yeah.
away.
It was I'll be honest, I enjoyed this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I am very concerned about the pace for the last episode, especially considering they are not going to finish Balin's arc, and Ray Stevenson has sadly passed, which
Yes.
means they are either going to do some creepy, horrific CGI. They are going to recast, which I don't have an issue with, but people on the internet are really weird now about recasting.
Mm.
Like, there's this weird dichotomy that's happened that is a fault of franchise films where people are really good in a role and they're like, no, no one else can ever do it. And it's like, bullshit.
Yeah, no,
Get another good actor.
I hear your concerns. I think, like we sort of discussed last week, I do think this is all setting up to end on Thrawn's arrival back. And I think what we're going to be left with is a lot of loose ends, which is going to either set us up. I don't know if they've confirmed or not, but either we're going to get season 2,
Or
or
it goes straight into the film.
yeah, and I have a feeling we'll get a season 2, and it all like wraps up into the film. But I do think we're going to end up with a situation, or the pacing is leading to Thrawn escapes, and it'll end with him like arriving, and that's where it'll end. And it'll be like Thrawn has returned, or the heirs of the Empire has returned, or something like that. I think the heroes of Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra and Huang are gonna be stuck or left behind and have to figure it out. Along with Haiti, I think she'll be there, which we can get into what I think might happen with her.
Yeah.
But then also I do think Balin's, it's either going to end with him finding the location of whatever it is he wants, or like there's gonna be some loose end to like I don't know, Ahsoka finds out where they find out where he's going and they're stuck now
Yeah.
of who to go after. But I do think you're right. It's gonna leave a few loose ends, and unfortunately for Balin, because the actor he's died. I don't think they do CGI. I think with the love that he's got for his character and it being Dave Filoni, like he will recast so he can finish that storyline, and they'll do it with someone that it is similar enough that it's not jarring, if that makes sense. They'll
Yeah.
find someone who is willing to step into those shoes, who also has a very similar appearance, and it can be like complete it for the sake of that actor and completing that story that he started. And I think the fans, there's definitely going to be some fans that are like, why have you recast him? This is, no. It's like, what do you want? Like, the story has to be finished.
Yeah. It would be. I think what people seem to fail to realize more recently is that actors are artists. Yes, you'll have some that are more artists than anything else, and you'll have some that are just like, I'm okay at this, I want to make my money. Like, not to throw shade, Jason Statham has very clearly said he's not an artist when it comes to acting. He was a guy who was never going to make any money. He got the opportunity to be an actor and make money doing action films, so he makes action films.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, you have like, I don't know, your Leonardo DiCaprio's, your Michelle Pfeiffer's, and that, who your Robert De Niro's, who are like, no, this is a craft. I'm trying to be the best I
Yeah.
can be. Ray Stevenson comes across to me as more of the latter, which
Yes.
means he will care deeply about this story and this character.
Yeah.
I would imagine he would want that story to be finished. All that you have to do is make sure you cast the right person to do the character justice.
Yes. Which I trust in Dave to do.
Yes. I mean, he found Ray Stevenson.
Yeah. And like he's shown multiple times how much he cares about Star Wars and the characters and makes sure they cast the right person. So I think he will do right. But while we're talking about Bale and stuff, like, so Balin very much like, okay, Padawan or
Whatever.
apprentice.
Yeah.
You've got your path now. I have mine. You clearly want power and whatever Thrawn, your lord to what Thrawn is giving. I have this other direction. So you've got to go deal with them on your own. I'm off to do my thing. Also goes back to the whole wolf tie-in, because
Okay.
in Norse mythology, Skull chased the sun, while Haiti chased the moon, which was just a mere reflection of the sun. So realistically, it's like Balin's off to find the power.
And
She's chasing what
thinks
she
is power.
Yes, not
Oh
realizing that.
my god. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to being nice about artists. Say what you want about Star Wars, because it is a soap opera
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's very over the top and it's sci-fi and it's a little bit goofy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, George Lucas takes a lot of the ideas from all different mythologies. We've discussed this at
Yes.
great length for different times. And this is why Filoni is such an heir to George Lucas, ignoring the fact that George Lucas is literally the Grand Master and Filoni is his apprentice in the way that lineage works in Star Wars. It's like literally exactly how they've worked. He's also writing the stuff in the same way. That being Norse mythology is not a fucking coincidence.
Oh no, it's 100% on purpose.
When in Rebels you had the black and the white Lothwolf in the mural, that Lothwolves were a big part of that last season, but not enough that you would put them in with
technical issues
in the sun.
Oh,
It's
he's
so
back.
deliberate. Oh, did I cut out?
You did cut out.
Did I get so excited I broke the internet?
You did. You froze and then you just went hyperspeed as your audio came back in. So
it's also deliberate and so well thought out.
yeah.
And I'm loving the Skull and Shin
Yes.
scenes so much because they are so like it's not even mystical. It's very much Shakespeare meets Karate Kid.
I know what you mean, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Yeah, I get you. It's
it's
no, you're
just
not
like
wrong. Like
these.
Dave is like in every way that he's written this uh series is like he knew from the start that like okay, this is going to be leaning heavily into the mysticism of Star Wars and all the cool like more magical and force stuff that people don't understand, and he's written that in through using mythology tie-ins and different things and leaning on things that add to that like mysticism about it all, and people are pulling these connections and finding them, and that just adds to it and the feel of this series that he's wanting to go for. Um, with the whole Balin and Haiti thing, we saw also you can see on his belt the green kyber crystal,
Yes.
and you also see shards of it in Haiti's braid.
Oh, is that his daughter?
So no, I don't think it's a daughter. I think she has it some in her braids because it ties them together.
Yeah.
The theories I've heard is either it's from his master, it's his old kyber crystal, or it was an apprentice that died in Order 66, and it's that kyber crystal.
I don't think it being an old one of his makes a lot of sense based on the lore we know about lightsabers. As a general rule, you bleed your own.
Yeah, and
As like a commitment to
Dave's
the dark side.
yeah, Dave's kind of lent into, although he's never explicitly said that stuff. That's the fear, like sort of thing he's lent into. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's his old one, unless it like got damaged. But I think, considering Balin was a general, we know he was like already high up. Most likely had an apprentice.
Yeah. Almost certainly.
Most likely could have seen that apprentice. Maybe that apprentice was killed by Anakin, and that's why he has such a hatred for Anakin.
And as a result of that, Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, yeah.
Similar to, ironically, and again, and you can say that we're reading into this too much, but like if you've watched Dave Filoni content, I don't think you
Yeah.
can. Um, it's also a reflection of when Balin met
Mm.
Ahsoka, he was very angry, but he didn't seem to be angry directly with her, but more with what she stood for,
Yes.
i.e., Anakin and the way he did things. And it wasn't very much the Jedi way a lot of the time, which wasn't a problem because it was wartime, so people kind of let it slide.
Yeah.
And you could say that's what allowed him to go to the dark side. So
Mm-hmm.
as a result, he views Ahsoka as all of the things he disliked about Anakin and potentially got his apprentice killed. And then on Thrawn's side, Thrawn gets the information and goes,
Yes.
ah,
The biggest oh
this
shit
is,
moment ever.
yeah, this is Anakin's Padawan. And it's the
Yes.
exact same thought process, just in two different brains. Balin Skull's like, you are the worst of the person who
Mm-hmm.
ruined my life, if we're saying that
Yeah.
this is his story. Whereas Thrawn's like, your master was one of the few people that kind of scared me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be a bit careful because if you're as dangerous as him, this is going to be a bit techie.
Yep.
But it's the exact same thought process though. They're projecting onto Ahsoka Anakin,
Yeah.
which is again a lot of this story has been about Ahsoka overcoming her guilt for not saving Anakin,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been protecting Anakin's failures onto herself.
Yeah.
A lot of this show is everyone projecting their failures onto Ahsoka. I mean, even Sabine was doing it.
Yeah. But notice how in this rematch with our Ahsoka the White, uh, she chose not to kill him or tried
Yeah.
to kill him. She
She
was
also
in
got a
no.
second saber out this time.
Yeah, she did. She realized, oh, I've got to use both to fight him.
Well, I think that was showing that she was remembering who she is
Mm-hmm.
instead of just what she was taught to be.
I think also like showing her learning, having the recording of Anakin playing again, is this whole thing of like she's come to go, wait, no, Anakin was a good master and was a good teacher. It's not my fault the things that happened to him, and the things he turned into do not like dispute what he was. And she's like come full circle. So when she fought Balin again, it was like, yeah, no, I'm not the same person you're fighting this time. You're not going to get to me the same way. And it was all just a ruse to get past him and run away. Steal his wolf, his hound or whatever, howler.
Yeah, the Howler. I love the Howler so much.
The one that was hiding inside Ezra's pod. And then I'm trying to think what other stuff. So yeah, we got the Thrawn oh shit moment, which I've seen a lot of people on the internet being like, oh, if Thrawn's this master tactician, knows all this information, like how did he not already know that Anakin had a Padawan called Ahsoka and whatnot? It's like, one, he's been gone for 9 years. Two, Ahsoka left Anakin, so depending when Thrawn sort of rose up, like he might not have ever got that information.
But also, Ahsoka might not be that uncommon a fucking name. Like,
Yeah.
it's really not that. It's just Star Wars fans. I don't think Star Wars fans realize how spoiled they are.
But like, there's plenty of reasons why Thrawn wouldn't have that information. But we got the thing of, oh shit. You could tell that was their way of showing that Thrawn knows who Anakin became.
Yeah.
Although he only says, oh, Anakin was unpredictable and dangerous. Maybe Ahsoka, we have to treat Ahsoka the same. Which is fair. But that is definitely him going, oh, I know what Anakin became. Which is, oh shit. Like, Ahsoka might not have gone that way, but she's going to be strong. And he changed up his tactic to be the master tactician he was. Like, it was so cool seeing him at work, essentially. Like, playing Ahsoka right into the hand he wants. How he was controlling the troops. Like chess pieces, like all very calculated, showing us why he's so scary.
You just know that if Thrawn existed on Earth, he would be playing League of Legends till 5 a.m. shouting slurs at people.
No, he wouldn't be playing League. He'd be StarCraft 2. Like running an army on StarCraft 2 and just absolutely destroying people.
Maybe. But yeah, it was wild, especially like you said, like the way he's controlling the situation. Because it's really difficult to show someone's tactical dominance.
Yes.
While not having them dominate someone. And when they're the bad guy, you don't really want them to dominate the good guy.
Yeah, and
he's a really difficult villain to make work.
Yeah, but they do it well, and like with him saying, oh, he purposely being like verbal about, oh, we allow her to do this because then it plays her into, and then right at the end of all of it, he's like, oh no, this has been a success because Ahsoka's wasted the one thing she hasn't got time to waste, or that she can waste, time. And then it shows the cargo hold is at like 85% full, and we're like, oh shit, he's just been buying time to fill up and he's gonna dip. Yeah. He realizes, I don't need to fight her, I just need to slow her down.
Exactly. And like, it's crazy because he kind of told us that was his plan last week.
Yeah, but you forget
when he was like, we don't need them to be on the ship. We just have to get out of here. I don't give a fuck if Balin or Shin or Ezra or Sabine are left here or are dead, but they're not coming back with us, so I don't really care where they are. And it's the exact same thing with Ahsoka. He's like, the longer she's out there just fighting random shit, the less time she has to get here and try and stop us from leaving.
And then we got the Ahsoka joining the fight. I will say there was one janky bit of CGI this episode, which is the first of the whole series, I would say, that I was like, oh, was when she jumped off her ship and did the little tuck and roll. It wasn't great. It felt like they ran out of time, or they couldn't get that to look right. And they were like, ah, shit, we're out of time. Slap a fuck ton of motion blur on it and hope for the best. I will let it slide.
There's been a couples where for a moment I'm like, oh, that's really obviously CGI. But it wasn't bad. It was just really obviously CGI. And that happens. But yeah, no, the jumping out of the ship was bad.
Yeah, it screamed, we can't get this to work. We haven't got time to reshoot anything.
Please just accept.
Yeah. I thought the banter between Sabine and Ezra was very on point. I saw some people being like, "Oh, Ezra's cracking jokes and stuff at inappropriate times," and everyone's like, "Did you not watch Rebels? Like
My brother in Christ.
this is exactly what Ezra would do. Like what? I think they've done a great job.
This is Ezra.
Yeah, like and I saw a great tweet. It was like, the one thing I hate the most when characters are accurately transferred from their animation into live action.
Yeah.
How I hate that.
It was so perfectly done, even down to the we can talk about this.
Yeah, just take us as prisoners. It's fine.
Yeah.
I thought
I spent 4 seasons being taken as a prisoner and finding a way to make it work.
exactly. I thought it was very cool though when Sabine's like, right, take your lightsaber. And he's like, I don't need that. That's yours. No, but you do your thing. Do your force thingy. No, you keep it.
You've been training with it.
You've been training, right? You can use it. Okay,
Force is my ally.
Well, he says the force is my ally. Skip forward 20 seconds when he's got a blaster and he's just shooting someone. But I will say the force pushes and the force kick, and when he stopped Shin's saber, actually one of a very cool effect to visually see, like him essentially warping her saber with the force, and her look on her eyes of like, oh shit, I can't do this.
Master, where are you?
Yeah. I'm in trouble. And then
it's not exactly what we wanted, but it definitely feels along the ilk of Monk Ezra. He spent the last 10 years connecting with the Force.
Yep, using the Force more.
And like, ironically, he's become more of himself because he was already quite close with nature. And he's by looks of it, he spent a large majority of the time with essentially travelers.
Yeah.
Who live off the land and move frequently, and he's just been meditating and chilling.
Yeah. I honestly wouldn't surprise me if indirectly, like, we might never know, and maybe Dave will want to reveal that this is how he thought of it, is like that Ezra has been talking to like Kanan's Force Ghost, and it's like kind of like, well, you haven't got anything, you need to learn to use what you have, and it's like go monk mode like he did at the end, and it's like just use the Force is there.
I would love if it turns out that he has been communing with Kanan.
It would be very cool. We also got Ahsoka trying to get Shin to turn. She sees a glimpse of hope in her.
I feel like coming out of the World Between Worlds, Ahsoka is now truly herself, which is what the white is obviously there to represent. She is healed, she is her. Ahsoka is at her core the most caring, person-centered, person-focused person in Star Wars. So she will, even by putting herself at danger, just give people chance after chance to.
Well, it also would be the Grey Jedi, because they're not an official thing, but it is very much a Grey Jedi way to be like, you can step away from the Force. You don't have to become a Jedi.
Yeah.
Like,
but you don't have to be my enemy.
Yeah, you don't. Like, being evil is not the way. And I do think Shin is going to potentially flip. It wouldn't surprise me if she suddenly sees Thrawn's true actions, sees that then Balin, maybe they find out like he's found some true evil, and she's like, wait, this isn't what you never said. Like, Balin sold them on like, we're not Sith or Jedi, like they're something else, and then it's like he suddenly turns fucking Sith evil.
I'm really, really curious to see what he's looking for and what's calling to him. All I know is it's probably very big and very powerful and very scary.
I foresee, and it probably won't happen in this season, maybe if we get season 2, I foresee a way of Shin becomes Ahsoka's apprentice.
Okay.
And Ezra helps Sabine to connect with the Force because he has such a strong connection, and he helps her unlock that. I think that might be.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
But also, Night Troopers aren't gas boys. Sag. No undead zombies.
I'm really confused about what's going on.
I think that it was just a visual thing of they've had to do repairs. They've used Night Sister help to like repair armor and keep this army
How have they
going.
had the resources to feed them for so long?
I mean, they could have hunted things.
Did you see the area?
You just got to kill one Purgle and it's plenty of food.
Do you know what we didn't talk about last week though?
What did we not talk about last week?
When they were stood on the castle thing,
Yes.
looking out on the wasteland.
Yes.
On the wall behind them was
Yes.
Zepho markings.
Yes, there was. I saw that this week. Someone was like, okay, there's a lot of Zepho markings in multiple places.
And as we know from Jedi Fallen Order,
yeah,
Zepho are like the Force sensitive creatures.
They're early Force sensitive.
Now that we know a bit more about the Night Sisters and the Dathomirians,
Hmm.
what if the Zepho are to our galaxy what the Night Sisters are to this other galaxy, i.e., this ancient race that are so in tune with the Force?
I think, isn't there there might be some already linked thing where Night Sisters and Dathomirians are some connection already to Zepho because they have some like essentially a connection to the Force but through magic. And there's something there, I think, already. So it would make sense for this planet to be like Zepho ruins and stuff. Also could be something that is what Balin senses. Maybe some Zepho temple.
What if it's like Bentu, like that kind of style of creature, like you said, just massive force, and it's just like the Zepho granddaddy,
possibly,
that the Night Sisters have trapped in a cage, and Balin's just like, I heard you calling. Why?
Yeah. But it does leave an interesting situation for next week and on the finale.
So here's my thing with plot points. I have no issue if the plan is for a second season for stuff to be left open ended. However, they can't just leave everything open ended because then you find yourself going, well, am I just gonna have to rewatch this entire season before season 2 starts to remember all the important plot points? There needs to be something that gets paid off.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're gonna pay off.
So I think for sure Thrawn returns. I think that's how it ends fully. Is Thrawn arrives out of hyperspace and just goes, Thrawn has returned. And that's where that ends it. So that means that he is going to escape. I think that makes sense. I think there's going to kind of be a split. There's going to be a situation where Ahsoka's going to be like, okay, so Ezra's going to be like, oh, let's go home then. And Ahsoka's going to explain things, and then Sabine's going to be like, I didn't tell him yet. And then it's going to be like, oh shit, figure that out. Why wasn't that talked about more?
Yeah.
I think Shin's going to be running back to the ship, to which I think Thrawn's going to be, what the fuck are you doing back? You haven't finished your task yet. Essentially betray her. And she's going to be like, oh shit, either she's going to die or escape and go crawling back to Ahsoka and be like, I've made a mistake. Or she'll go looking for Balin and Balin will then betray her and she's then feels lost, so goes to Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka tries to, or Ezra, one of the two, tries to chase Balin to wherever he's going. So then there's a bit of a split.
Ezra's gonna know where Balin's going. I don't think he's been told that Balin's looking for something yet.
Well, we don't know that.
With just how in tune Ezra is and how long he's been on the planet, I feel like he'll be like, yeah, there's this one really weird place that gives me bad vibes. He's probably going there because you know, dark side as fuck.
I wonder if, what if Shin goes back to Ahsoka because she gets betrayed by Thrawn? Ahsoka offers her a hand again, and then she says, well, but they're like, "Where's your master?" And she's, "Oh well, he's gone off to search for something." And that's when Ezra's like, "Oh shit, I think I know where he's going."
Yeah.
And then they have the decision of, do we stop Thrawn or do we stop Balin? And I think it ends up being this whole thing of like, well, Ezra and Ahsoka are going to be like, shit, the thing that you're saying Balin's going to get is worse in the grand scheme of things than Thrawn getting back. And then maybe they go to try and stop Balin.
I think it'd more likely be Shin and Ezra are like, we have to stop Balin, because obviously Shin's worried about Balin, and Ezra being on the planet will be like, yeah, no, that place is really, really concerning. And then you'll have Sabine and Ahsoka, whose entire thing has been, we have to stop Thrawn from getting back, are going to be like, no, we need to stop Thrawn from getting back.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how stuff might play out and how the cards are going to fall come closing time on Ahsoka season 1.
I wonder, I want to see Enoch fight.
Yeah, I've got a feeling Enoch is just going to be another really cool design that doesn't actually do much.
I think he's going to be a dust boy. I think he is actually a dust boy. And I think he's going to end up, he'll get to go back with Thrawn. And we'll see Enoch do cool shit to like someone who goes against Thrawn, just some soldier, and he's just like, Enoch absolutely beats the shit out of him. But yeah, there's a lot up in the air for the finale. Overall, though, been loving the series. And
100%.
I just hope that Dave goes, yes, there's a season 2 of Ahsoka before the film, because I think if this was to go straight into the film, there's so much that would have to do in that film.
Yes, 100%.
And in so many different places, because you're going to be pulling from Mandalorian and from Ahsoka, and if they bring in Boba Fett, I don't know if they will. Like, there's a lot of areas they'll be pulling into the film that I don't think they can deal with all this Ahsoka stuff.
100%.
But I trust in Dave.
I do absolutely. I think we will get at least one more season of this, and yeah, probably just this before the film.
Yeah. I could see us getting another Mandalorian to see Grogu get some training.
But I definitely think they can also take off in the position they left the Mandalorian straight into the film.
Yeah. And just skip ahead, because you got to remember, obviously, this is set after. So yeah, they could just skip ahead and be like, oh yeah, Grogu's had some training now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese.
Yes. A legend of cinema.
Famous only for shitting on Marvel a couple of months ago. Martin Scorsese, like I said, an absolute legend of cinema who has directed at least one of most people's favourite films.
Yes.
About a year or so, maybe even 2 years ago now, he made a comment in an interview about Marvel isn't cinema. I never read that interview. I took a little bit of notice of the discourse around it, paid not too much attention. But then the fire got stoked again yesterday when he was saying that comic books are bad for cinema. Comic book movies are bad for cinema. In a GQ article.
Yes.
And I saw the Discord getting out of hand again. And I was like, fuck it. This time I'm going to read the full article. I'm going to get full context. And then me and you were going to discuss it.
Yes.
And we're going to put an end to this once and for all. So I don't think Martin is saying anything unfair. I think we are getting one of them situations where people are defending the stuff they care about with such vigor they miss the point.
Yeah. Agreed.
Which I understand. It always sucks when you feel like someone's attacking something you care about.
Yeah.
But as a result of that, they're missing the point, which is actually a valid point. So, Martin Scorsese did a whole big interview about being an old man in film, essentially, and how he's dealing with the looming threat of death, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
And it was actually a very good interview. It was very insightful.
Yeah,
I
it was.
enjoyed reading it a lot, and only a very small portion of it was about comic book movies and modern cinema.
Well, yeah, it
Uh,
wasn't even, I would say, specifically about comic book. It was like franchises.
yes. And basically, his whole point was cinema is art.
Mm-hmm.
And while he accepts that there has to be a commercial element to it,
Yep.
going all commercial means that anyone who's not making a commercial film is seen as an indie film, and as a result, they don't get the budgets they sometimes
Yes.
deserve. Like for a long time, Martin Scorsese made these independent films, but they still had massive budgets.
Yep.
And he's saying these franchises are creating this world where any film that's not a franchise is classed as an indie, but now indie films get no big budgets.
Yeah.
The one quote that really had Twitter losing its mind was like, we need to fight back against comic book movie culture. And what he really meant was franchise culture.
Yeah.
Is with someone like Chris Nolan. And
Yeah.
everyone's grabbed that and went, you mean Chris Nolan, who started it all by doing the Dark Knight trilogy? And again, people just miss the point massively because he's not saying that Chris Nolan specifically. He's talking about these people who are directors that have a voice and are actually trying to make
Well,
art and are not just
I would
making
argue
whatever a studio pays
the
them to
reason
do.
he says Christopher Nolan, other than the fact that like it's Christopher Nolan, is the fact that like he recently did Oppenheimer, which like is, I would
the
say,
biggest biopic of all time.
yeah, is cinema. It's not a franchise thing, and it's been huge. It has been great for cinema, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is reviving cinema." That's probably why I brought it up. I also would like people are missing that even in the article, the interviewee, he's like puts like, I know I shouldn't really be like, I know I'm gonna bring flack at Scorsese because of this question, and that I am prodding the fire. Like he's very well aware of bringing this up and what it's going to cause, but Martin Scorsese is like, no, it's like this needs to be discussed, and it's. I think there's a lot of like people obviously, like you say, see that one point, run with it. That's all they see on the internet. They don't go read. But there's like several points in there, that article, where he's talking about he's done films for that are funded by Warner Brothers. I forget which film it was exactly, but it's the two male characters, whoever, die in the film. And Warner Brothers were like, we need the, is there a way that one of them doesn't? And it's like based off a book and based off or something in history. And it's like, no, they're both dying. And it's like Warner Brothers were essentially being like, yeah, but if one of them lives, that's a franchise. We can make another film, and there's a franchise here. And he was going on about like, that's all that Hollywood cares about. And these studios like Warner Brothers, they just want the next franchise. They don't care about a good story. They don't care about like meaning in any of these films. They just want to pump out as many of them as they can, which we've seen through Fast and Furious, like Invincibles. I
mean Expendables.
Expendables, sorry. There's like all these franchises that everyone's going, oh really? Another one, Transformers. Like, just really, we're milking it. But it explains it. Like he also talks several times about how like Hollywood just isn't good for cinema, and often he says, oh, I'm not doing that again, but the budgets, that's the only place to get the budgets, and he ends up making these films, and then afterwards he's like, fuck's sake, I've got roped into this thing again.
Yeah.
And he gets shoehoorned in a certain way because all they
he said
care
he
about
retired like 3 times because just working with big studios is so tedious.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, his point was comic book movie culture isn't a problem.
No.
But if that's all that's getting made, it's not culture anymore.
Well, yeah, and that he's saying that it's getting to the point where these franchises and comic book films are all that the studios want to make. So then that's all that's in cinema. And then people get mad because that's all they know is cinema. When something else comes out, they don't want to go watch it because they're like, oh, this isn't what I'm used to going to see. This isn't some big franchise.
would it not be lovely? I know, like, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic here. We love our nerd stuff, and we know that it's not necessarily high cinema or super deep art, but we love it, and that is fine.
Mm.
It is fine to like stuff.
Yeah.
Um, would it not be a lot nicer if we just had 6 nerd films a year that we have to worry about every other month, and then the months in between we get to just both look at what's coming out and go, should we go see that?
Mm.
Just choose a random fucking film that might be shit. It might be great. We might go see a Scorsese film, a Tarantino film. We might also go see some shit horror film that is absolutely going to be horrific. And then we just get to talk about it. Because that used to be something that was really, really common.
Yeah.
Friends would just go and see whatever was on at
Yeah.
the cinema and then they'd have a chat about it. Whereas now it feels like you only go to the cinema when your franchise is showing something,
Mhm.
and that sucks because I adore the cinema. It's one of my favorite places to be, and the notion that it's just all going to be franchise films, and soon I'm only going to go to the cinema to see DC, Marvel, and Star Wars, and nothing else
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. It does. But it's like he's right in that it's gonna take more of these big name directors to push back. And he's like Martin Scorsese is doing it with like he has set up his own independent fund for indie films and he's helping other people make these films that he likes to start like he wants to see them be made, so he's helping them. And it's like that's his focus now.
Yeah.
But I think people, like you say, see one little like quote on the internet and someone slightly misquoting it like to be all about superhero films. Like, oh my god, he's just hating on superhero films again. It's like, no.
Put it this way. Like, let's be honest here. I'm not saying we are anywhere near the level of GQ or Martin Scorsese. But last week, we were talking about the Aquaman trailer.
Yes.
And I said, while we were discussing it, I'm going to be disappointed if the baby doesn't die. We got off the call and instantly were like, that has to be a sound bite for one of the shorts this week. Because even we know that even if it's out of context sometimes, something so jarring and catching you off guard
Mm-hmm.
gets attention.
Yeah.
So Scorsese will say this just to say it. He won't be doing it to get attention. But the person writing the article and then the chief editor who's going to decide what the headline is,
Well,
he's
yeah,
going to run with that.
that's the thing. The guy doing the interview and writing the article says in it he knows that like this is going to bring flack to Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese knows that answering this and discussing about this is going to like poke the fire. They know what it's going to cause, and it's like neither of them are hiding from the fact that they're going to that this is going to get used to as the article point, and it's going to be the thing that everyone latches onto. They know that, but they also like Martin Scorsese doesn't give a shit. He's 82. Like he doesn't care what people on the internet think about him anymore. He's just trying to make the next film that he wants to make.
Like, in reality, are we discussing the article right now if the headline, despite it only being like the smallest paragraph in the entire 15-minute read article, wasn't about comic book movies? No. We probably wouldn't even know the article exists.
Yeah. We would have probably been like, oh, Martin Scorsese's done an article because he's like getting old.
Yeah. Yeah, if the title was Scorsese's almost dead, what does he think about it? No one's clicking. I mean, some people will click. That's very reductive. There are a lot of people who would care about that. But there is a massive subset of people like ourselves who are going to be like, oh, cool.
They're like
me and you are intelligent guys. We can read. But even we were like, oh, a 15-minute article, that was a bit long. And I was like a little bit embarrassed to myself. So I'm like, I used to read books, like massive books in like a day. And I was like, I had to stop and get a drink in the middle of this article.
I mean, this article...
And it was a good article.
The article as well could have very easily just been titled Hollywood is killing cinema. Or like something of that effect. And it's not... like, and that still would have garnered impressions. It's just like, yeah, people falling for a classic internet like headline.
And what is not helped is Twitter's new payment system, paying for impressions.
Yeah.
Because you just get people, and it's like you just get people tweeting the most batshit insane stuff to farm impressions because impressions actually make them money.
Yep.
So if you see cutscene convos get verified, don't worry about it. However, we do have a massive W to celebrate this week.
We do. It's been 148 days, Connor.
It has, but the WGA strike is soon to be over. The deal is agreed.
It's officially ended.
Was the last day of the strike today?
Yep.
So the strike is officially over. They have agreed a deal. They didn't get everything they wanted.
No,
I
which
know
is
originally I was getting ready to come into this episode with jokes because I didn't think it was actually going to go through because the AMPTP, the Union for Producers, basically said this is our best and final offer. To which everyone on Twitter collectively went, "The fuck do you mean this is your final offer? If they say no, are you just going to stop making films and television?"
Yeah, like.
But I mean, then the next day, WJ was like, "We're proud to announce we've managed to come to a deal." I don't think they've got the exact figures they were looking for with payment, but definitely closer to them than what the studios initially said.
Yes. There's they like all negotiations when this stuff happens, the WGA was never going to get exactly to the point of what they originally wanted. There is going to be some leeway, but all this is still progress in a much better direction from where it was.
There is always going to be a winner and a loser in negotiations. The WGA was the winner for sure. And the biggest thing is they got protection against AI, and they've got their share of the pie with streaming services. And not only have they got their share of the pie with streaming services, they've also got access to streaming services data.
Yes.
Which means they can keep an eye on the streaming services and make sure they're not trying to find other ways to try and take the piss. So this is an absolutely tremendous dub. They're being protected from AI. The writer's room, which was something that we know nothing about. Like we've never been a part of a writer's room, obviously. But that was something writers on the picket lines were very concerned about. They were like, it feels like every project I'm working on, there's less and less writers in the writer's room now, and it affects the quality of the show because there are less minds working together to make it as good as possible. In any kind of creative environment, working together, collaboration, getting another set of eyes on stuff always improves the quality. So now I believe the way it's working is there's like different levels of like writing. Whether it's like the pilot, full production rewrites, and they have now set minimums for each of them stages. So like the pre-writes is like a minimum of like 10 writers guaranteed work for 6 weeks. And then like the full writing is like 12 weeks minimum of 12 writers or whatever. And then rewrites are like 5 writers for however many weeks. I don't know if they're the exact numbers, but that's the general idea.
Yes. There's a lot of different things. Like you say, some big points on AI. Like they can't use it, like studios aren't able to use AI to write or rewrite literary materials, like books. They can't take like Lord of the Rings and get an AI to rewrite it and then be like, well, we own all this now. There was stuff like a writer can use AI if they want, but a studio can't require them to. So AI can't be forced on any of these people, and the studios have to disclose if anything they give to the writers is from AI. So they can't be like, oh, we got this. They have to say it was done by AI. And it's like basically everything is in the writer's hand on how they use AI, not in the studio's hand.
As far as I'm concerned, the only chance we have of using AI in a creative way safely is if it is a tool for the creative person.
Yes.
Just like spell check. Like.
And like you said as well, streaming sites have to now disclose their details under NDAs, obviously, but these streaming sites have to tell the studios how many people are watching, how like viewership, total hours watched. There is now better residuals from those streaming sites. Like
which was a
half-hour
big
episodes,
concern.
1 hour episodes have gone up, and if it's movies, everything's like increased massively there for those people.
So don't be surprised when all the streaming services try and bump our prices in a little while, because they're not going to take that additional hit. They're going to find a way to make the money back.
Unfortunately, yeah. Oh, and another one I'm going through, like pulling out the things. The thing about number of writers, so it's if there's 6 or fewer episodes, there has to be 3 writers in the room and 3 writer producers in the room. If it's 7 to 12, that goes up to 5 and 3. If it's 13 plus, it's 6 and 3. So basically,
There you go.
number of producers doesn't change, but the number of amount of writers in there goes up. And I think their term of employment, they have a minimum wage they get if it's up to 9 weeks, 10 to 19, or 20 plus. And then also their position has minimum rates that has to be hit.
At the end of the day, me and you are not qualified to say whether this is a good deal or not.
No.
However, the WGA feel like they've won.
Mm-hmm.
The writers they were fighting for feel like they've won.
Yep.
So we've got to trust that the organisation we've been supporting this entire time are right.
Yep.
And in fact, this is a good deal, and the writers are going to be looked after again. It sucks that it took this long for studios to pull their head out of their arse. Fuck CEOs. That's not changing just because they're starting to cave. I've always hated CEOs, and I'll probably hate them until the day I die.
Yeah.
Which is why if we ever get anywhere, Hori is going to be the CEO.
And while this is a huge W for the WGA, not to forget that SAG-AFTRA is still striking. They are still in the process of getting their deal.
So as far as I know, the WGA had previously said they would not go back to work until SAG-AFTRA was sorted. I assume that is still the case, but I do not know.
I think WGA has announced that people, like their union workers, could go back to work as of a certain date. I don't know what that was. That would make me think everything is kind of in agreement. Maybe SAG-AFTRA has a deal that's just not been announced yet and is being finalized.
Or maybe SAG-AFTRA have said, no, you guys go and get back to work so that we've got stuff to record once we've got our slice of the pie.
Yeah. So,
but the SAG-AFTRA situation is really, really interesting.
Go on.
Because they voted to strike video game voice acting. Yeah. But that doesn't start yet. They need to go through another batch of like negotiations.
Right.
And then that strike will start. Yeah.
Yep.
But there's more negotiations due to start happening Monday.
Yes.
So them negotiations on Monday now aren't just to try and end the strikes. It's also to potentially avoid even widespread strike, like even further strikes.
Yep.
I would like to think that the writers being sorted will get them to pull their finger out and get the actors back to work. But what I will say is the actors have ironically been on strike for exactly half the time the writers were on strike for.
Yeah.
So I do wonder, are they going to follow the exact same playbook and then in another 73 days, the actors will get the deal they want? And then there'll be 3 months of writing that can be caught up on. And then everyone will be done. It would have been about 5 months of strikes for each parties over a span of like 7 months. And then everything's sorted. I want the strikes over because I want the actors looked after.
Yes.
Not because I'm worried about what I'm going to watch.
We want it over with them getting the deal that they deserve. And I hope that, like you say, hopefully now that WGA's got their deal, AMTP or whatever it is.
AMPTP.
Yeah. Oh, like, okay, here, let's get you sorted as well. Let's get this back to going. Part of me does worry, though, that they're going to use this success with the WGA and be like, look, Your WGA lot have all decided on this. Here's your deal, and it's going to be like a scummy deal, and they're trying to force them to take it because the WGA is going back to work, and try
Yeah.
and like pressure them that way. And I hope that doesn't happen. Or if it does, I hope SAG-AFTRA's like, fuck you, no, we'll keep striking if we have to. Don't try and screw us now.
Yeah.
So
I hope it is resolved quickly so that them lower income actors can get back to working and probably not be as stressed about money. Because I'm
yes,
sure right now there are a number of actors who are shitting a brick about how much longer these strikes are going to go on for. Um, and all I can say to them is stay strong, fuck the CEOs, you will win eventually. We hope.
we do.
But I'd say overall, that's probably one of the best updates we've been able to give on these strikes.
Yes, it is.
Stuff's going in the right direction.
Yes, it is.
That's about as much as we can ever hope for in situations like this. And hopefully, clowns at the top of organizations are going to quickly realize that they work for the writers and the actors and the runners and everyone else who makes this stuff happen, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Ned's network time.
Yes, latest news.
I think it's safe to say that the DC cinematic universe, as it will come to be known, has been quite confusing for a lot of people.
Yes, it has.
I mean, even for us, as people who like make a concerted effort to try and stay up to date on this stuff, it's been a bit confusing at times.
It has, especially with some of James Gunn's vague comments at times on things.
He has been quite vague at times, but the good news is he has made a concerted effort over the last 24 hours to try and clear up some stuff and make it a bit neater and tidier and less confusing.
Yes.
So we'll start with that. So James Gunn has confirmed that John Cena, Freddie Stromer, Viola Davis, and Zola Maradona will keep their roles as Peacemaker, Vigilante, Amanda Waller, and Blue Beetle, respectively.
Yes.
We are not led to believe that these are the only actors keeping their roles.
No.
But these are all definitely keeping their roles.
Yeah. And fully confirmed.
Yes. But there might be more. We can hope there's more. I mean, originally we only had confirmation of Cena, Viola, and Zolo. Freddie Stromer was announced about 20 minutes before we started recording.
Yes.
So there might be a couple more to come, but they are all locked in. James has also given some more clarity on the DCU.
Yes, he has.
And what it entails. So he's been very clear. Nothing is canon until Creature Commandos, which is the animated show that is coming first. He also said it's okay to be confused. It's very much in human nature to want to know everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
But you don't. So just have a bit of patience.
Yeah. Bear with.
He then reiterated nothing so far is DCU.
Yep.
Stuff may feel familiar. They might redo some stories they've seen before. Like the joke of every Batman film has to have Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed.
Yep.
Like you're going to see stuff you've seen before or storylines you've seen before.
Yep.
And you might see faces that you've seen before doing the same role, like John Cena as Peacemaker. But it's all brand new.
He did also, I think, mention that some plot points may still be relevant to that character, but it doesn't mean that what you saw as a plot point and exactly how it happened is canon.
Yes. Which we've discussed a little bit before about how they might do that and how that might be a case of the timelines are similar, but not identical. So there's a chance of redoing old stories we've seen before. I don't think that's a big surprise. And it is a completely fresh start. Some people are just staying in their roles because they're the right person for the job. So the Blue Beetle film we've seen has it's not a DCU film. It means nothing. But Zolo is still the Blue Beetle.
Yeah. And something tells me a lot of the plot points and things that happen in that film also happen to the DCU Blue Beetle.
100%, it's very possible. But nothing that you have seen is DCU until Creature Commandos.
Yes.
Ironically, he referred to it in his tweet as CC. So we are now canon, Hori. Say what you want.
We are the beginning of canon.
Yes, we are the canon. I'll be honest. As someone who at first thought I understood what the DCU was going to be, and then slowly got more and more concerned and confused as time went on, it felt very, very nice to have this
clarity.
Yes, have it tidied up and just like, especially, I don't know why, out of all of this, him going, it's okay for you guys to be confused right now. You have no idea what to expect. You've not seen anything, and you're desperate to know because you care so much.
Yep.
I was like, okay, he's aware at least of how confusing it seems.
Yeah.
Which is actually really weird. It's like when someone knows you're upset and they're like, I know you're upset, just give me a minute and we can try and like get through this. And it was helpful.
With how vocal he has been on social media already about the DCU and different things, as things were coming out, and he's been like open on Twitter explaining things. I was a little surprised this hasn't come sooner, but it doesn't surprise me that like after that last interview where he mentioned about, oh, Blue Beetle is the first DCU character, but it's not a DCU film, he's obviously probably come out of that and gone, I've probably just confused a lot of people with that. And then he's waited a bit, he's like, okay, I see you're all confused. I know that you're confused. I've come into this and it was a mess. I am setting things up. But don't worry, like you, I like some of these things that have already been done. I'm figuring out how to keep these things. Here's the explanation. Bear with me. I know you like DC. I also like DC. I'm doing it right sort of attitude is what I get.
And at the end of the day, not to blow our own horn, me and you are very good at taking, like, I think our media literacy skills are quite high. So once we start getting DCU projects, we'll be able to break out and work out pretty quickly what is and what isn't relevant.
Yep.
And that, and I mean, not just us. There are tens of thousands of people who are so good at this stuff, and you will get timelines and explanation videos that explain what plot points are relevant to Blue Beetle, Peacemaker, and like what minor differences there might be. And if anything, it'll be fun to go back to a potentially simpler time where everyone's like trying to piece together a bit of timeline to work out what's happened.
Yeah.
But it's nice to feel acknowledged.
Yeah. And I saw the best explanation was, so this is just like comic books. Some of the old stuff matters, a lot of it doesn't. We're in the new era.
Good luck working out what is relevant. Good luck working out what happened to what character. Yeah, 100%. It's like when you say like, oh, the Flash did that, and I'm like, okay, Jay Garrick, Barry Allen, Wally West, which Flash?
So
it is what it is. We'll work it out.
Exactly.
We'll enjoy the ride. Hori.
Yes.
I'm sure you're well excited for this.
Very.
Gen V episode 1 comes out now. It's already out if you're listening to this. It's not out fresh yet because we're in the past. Let us know if it's any good in the comments. 29th September for those who are not watching the day it comes out because you know you might have other stuff to do. Gen V episode 1 comes out. It's sitting pretty on like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Interesting.
I'm excited for it.
I'm realizing.
Have you even started The Boys yet?
Yeah, definitely. so far through The Boys. So far.
All I will say is the one of my recommendations that you actually watched, Invincible, you adored. Therefore, I have 100% win rate, so you should watch The Boys.
I have no doubt that I'm sure I will enjoy The Boys. But as with everything in my life, I need close deadlines to get me to do anything. It took you telling me on a Monday, we're doing the Invincible thing this week, and I was like, shit, yeah, I need to watch this.
Here is the problem. I can't say to you, we're discussing Gen V episode 1 next week because there is no realistic way you can watch 4 seasons of The Boys by next week.
Doubt.
It's like 10 episodes each and they're an hour each. And then you've got that. That's 40 episodes. That's 40 hours plus Gen V episode 1, which is 41 hours.
Easy.
Okay, well, we're discussing Gen V episode 1 next week then, ladies and gentlemen.
You think I won't binge The Boys?
Let's do it. Fuck it. Let's cook.
This is why I'm going to regret this now.
Yeah, I didn't want to paint you into a corner, but you said you can do it. There you go, chat. I did not peer pressure him here. I gave him an out. No, don't stop backtracking.
No, I'm just going to say, if we don't discuss Gen V next week, we all know it's my fault.
100%.
So, I've made my bed. Yeah, I will lie in it.
I'm sure you won't at all get distracted by Cyberpunk or any other game like CS2, which is
there's definitely no other game that just came out that I could very easily get hooked back into after 6 years.
Oh yeah, the fucking New World update came out.
Oh no, I'm on about CS2.
Oh, okay, cool.
I used to be, this is a sidetrack now, but I used to grind CSGO. So
were you good at it when you were a young man?
I was only 6 years younger. I was already on the way down.
Oh, yeah, you were already ancient. Oof.
I'll be as good as I
was. Tough times. 6 years ago, you were a little bit younger than I am now, to be fair. You're what? I was 22. 60 now?
Okay. Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I know we just said how franchise films are inherently bad, and although we are hypocrites for that because we also enjoy franchise films, let's talk about one of my favorite franchises, James Bond.
A franchise that is done right, though.
Yeah. I feel like I've said so many times that James Bond is actually one of my favorite franchises. And it works because they are quite infrequent.
Yep.
And it's a childhood thing where I don't even know if I have them anymore, but I used to not have a DVD player, even though I am the age of a DVD player. I used to have a video player.
Mm-hmm.
And what my grandma would do is she'd go to car boot sales, and she'd get all of the old James Bond films on VHSs.
Yeah.
And they would be the films I had. So I would just watch all of the old James Bond films all the time. I fucking adore them. They are cinema.
Yeah.
So imagine my fucking delight when there is a very strong / heavy rumor. I mean, Hori could tell my delight because it's in block capitals. That Christopher Nolan might be doing not just one, but potentially 2 James Bond films that are both going to be true to the Ian Fleming books and set in the original 40s.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to be a follow-on to...
No.
Oh.
Yeah. This is going to be true to the book. This is a World War II spy. James Bond.
Ooh, I like this.
Yes.
I was just reading this as like, so they don't want to announce the next James Bond, but okay, Christopher Nolan's going to be making them. That's what I thought they were going for with this. But no, okay. That's interesting.
Because I've long been of the opinion that James Bond is actually an alias. And I know this is like a very popular fan theory. Just because of the way the films have done. Not from the books, but because in the films, you've got so many different faces and his name is so well known. You're like, this is terrible for a spy. You shouldn't be this well known. So it becomes like the British Secret Service's boogeyman. Whoever their most dangerous spy is James Bond.
Yeah.
Because that just makes sense. It's like, oh, James Bond is coming for you, and they just shit their pants because all of these legends of James Bond, where this man should have died, but he's still coming, it's because it's a different guy. So the idea that they can then just do a reset and go, okay, this is the James Bond. This is the guy who was so terrifying that we kept his name around as a legacy.
This is the person that was such a successful agent that cemented the Bond title as a recurring title that's passed on.
And also, depending on when they set it, we could have very much like James Bond hunting Nazis, which I'm so down for. I'm so down for. So yeah, this is not often I get like this excited over potential fanfare. No one knows if it's really real news, but I read this and I was like, yeah, sign me up. I'm in.
I'm all for them doing this as sort of a stopgap before they bring on a new Bond.
Yeah,
I
because
think
they
that's
said they
just
wanted to
smart.
give it a bit of a break.
Yeah, they did.
So if they give it say 2 or 3 years before his first one's done, another year and a half until the second one comes out,
Yeah.
then that will have been like 5, 6, maybe 7 years since the last modern one, which is a perfect amount of time for us to get a modern James Bond
Yeah.
again.
There'll be a
Um,
hopefully a fresh new landscape in the UK that they can base it around and be relatable to.
what I want to know:
Oh.
are there any actors currently cutting about who look like a young Christopher Lee? Because Christopher Lee, Count
Hmm.
Dooku, Dracula, however you know him, because the man's
Yeah.
the goat. You'll think of him from as Sauron, won't you? Sorry. Um,
Yeah. That's probably the first.
he Ian Fleming based James Bond off of Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
So if there's anyone cutting about who looks like a young Christopher Lee, that they should just get the role, even if they can't act for shit. We'll find a way to
Has
make them
Christopher
good at
Lee got a
acting.
grandson?
This is literally exactly what I was thinking.
Has he got a grandson that, like, you put him next to like an old photo of Christopher Lee, like, I see the genes.
Yeah. It's just like the joke about how Tom Holland looks like a young Stan Lee.
Yeah.
And that's why he gets to be Spider-Man. But yeah, I'm so excited, especially after watching Oppenheimer. It shows he can capture that period of time so well.
Oh yeah.
I'd be so down. And I mean, I'm a sucker for a spy thriller. A good spy thriller hits in a lot. It's probably why Winter Soldier is my favorite Marvel film. Like
True.
just that espionage element just fucking hits. Oh, I love it. I really, really need to start thinking about the order of which
I was thinking of how excited you were
together. Yeah,
with the James Bond, and I'm like, this is going to be a tough one to roll into the next news.
I
point.
really, really need to, after I write down the Nerd News Network stuff, put it in a more thoughtful order.
Yes.
This is genuinely heartbreaking news. Dumbledore actor Michael Gambon, Sir Michael Gambon, passed away today.
He did.
Apparently, it was very peaceful. Apparently, it was in hospital surrounded by his family. But my God, does that suck?
83? He's in the early 80s, I think, wasn't he?
Yes. He was 83.
There we go. Yeah.
Stunning actor.
The sad news.
I didn't realize how wickedly funny he was. A lot of people who've worked with him have spent a lot of today tweeting about his sense of humor.
Well, we've seen
which
some
is quite
of that
nice
in the behind the scenes of the Harry Potter stuff when he like joke with the kids and stuff.
And of course, like Michael Gambon is potentially one of the best recastings of all time.
I was going to say, like, he stepped into some big shoes to fill.
Yeah. So of course, in the first two films, Richard Harris played Dumbledore. Was it the first two or just the first one? I think
it was just the first one. I could be wrong.
No, he was in the Chamber of Secrets as well.
Okay.
It was then after that he passed, and Michael Gambon had to fill his shoes.
Yes, he did.
Which is no mean feat.
No.
And he absolutely did it with such grace in a way that I didn't even really realize was possible. But yeah, I mean, it's so sad. I mean, it feels like we're starting to get to the age now.
I was about to say.
Where actors from stuff we love are starting to pass. We had it with Robbie Coltrane not that long ago. I mean, about a year ago now, or maybe even less.
We're at that point where, unfortunately, Harry Potter, when we were young, already had a lot of older actors and actresses in that film. And they've only got older. We've unfortunately already seen quite a few of them go. And it's not going to stop with Michael Gambon, unfortunately.
And I think the thing that actually makes it suck a lot more, and I'm not sure if this is just for us as British people, is because it was such a British cast.
Yeah.
A lot of them you will have seen on other like BBC and ITV stuff that might not have made it to America.
Hmm.
So like Alan Rickman and Robbie Coltrane and Michael Gambon and everyone, you feel like you saw them a lot growing up because you did. So
Yeah.
as a result, they are so deeply ingrained in so many childhood memories that it really, really sucks.
It does.
Um,
It's a shame.
but yeah, it really, really sucks. And with the tour just being around the corner, I'm sure there will be some kind of
I saw
memoriam put up around there.
a great clip that I'd forgotten was a thing, which is when he was on Top Gear.
Oh yeah,
And he got the corner named a Gambon corner. And because and I remember I rewatched it, and it's like the lap he does in the reasonably priced car, which to any viewers outside of the UK or who weren't that era of Top Gear, like that man sent it in the car. He was fearless.
my man feared nothing.
Yeah. And he was so like jokey about it. Like he was like, "Oh, I didn't even think about it." And it's just like
you said to do it as fast as I could, so I did.
Yeah, he's like, when he goes past the tower and Clarkson's like, "Oh, tires," and he's like, "Well, you meant to get close." It's like the man was great. It's a shame to see him go.
And yeah, and I do really, really feel for like your Rupert Grints, your Emma
Yeah.
Watsons, and your Daniel because they grew up on that set around him.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to really, really hit home for them today. Because yeah, it's someone we grew up watching and we loved them for the characters they played in our childhood. They knew them as an actual person that they grew up with.
Yeah, they spent a huge portion of their life growing up with them.
It'll be like potentially losing an uncle or a grandparent for them. So it's probably a really, really shit day for the young actors of the Harry Potter franchise.
Yeah.
So yeah. Content Championship.
Yes, on to a lighter note.
Yes. We have got round 2 of the Content Championship.
Yes, round 2 has begun.
Which means it's a TV show versus a film this week.
Mm.
Clone Wars, the animated show, versus X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Just call it now. Clearly Wolverine.
without a shadow of a doubt. As always, we have 6 topics to discuss.
Yes.
Personal relevance, how well has it aged, rewatchability, story, acting, and cinematography.
Yes.
So, we've already written our notes for these shows before. For these pieces.
Yeah, somewhere
before. So what I've done is I brought my notes in because of my new filing system.
You have a filing system. Yeah. I don't.
And I've then added bits because I've given them a bit more thought because I've spent 5-10 minutes thinking about it before for each of them. I put them together and then I've spent another 5-10 minutes to build out more thought because it's the second round, Tori. There's bigger stakes here.
Like always, I wing it.
So, starting off with personal relevance.
Yes.
As always, the Clone Wars. It is iconic, and it elevates all Star Wars media by adding context. This is what I said previously. That's not changed. What I didn't consider previously, was although it wasn't for me, and maybe because it wasn't for me, that's why I didn't consider it under personal relevance. But for a lot of people, it was their introduction to Star Wars. Because if you think about it, when the prequels came out, that was 1999 to 2005.
Something, I think so.
In reality, I was only 6 years older when Revenge of the Sith came out. I'm actually more of the generation that would have grown up watching the Clone Wars on Cartoon Network. And then because of that, they're like, I want to watch more Star Wars, and then they're like, wait, there's films. And I think that gets overlooked. I think it's very important that we remember that every piece of Star Wars media has a generation attached to it.
Yeah.
And at that time, Clone Wars was the only bit of Star Wars media that had to carry an entire generation and pivot them into Star Wars fans.
Yeah. I am the flip of you in that being a little bit older, obviously I saw the prequels, not directly as they came out in the cinema, but of that era. Like my parents would have put them on TV, or at my uncle's, because he's very much into Star Wars. Like I saw them at a young age, the films. It was like, Star Wars is cool. But I was a bit too old and didn't have access to like cable or Sky or anything. So I missed out on watching the Clone Wars on TV at that young age. I probably saw a bit, like the odd thing here or there of it, but for the most part, I didn't watch it till I was a bit older. And for me, it was like, oh, I always felt like the prequels weren't as bad as everyone thought they were, because that was my generation of Star Wars, and kind of was like, they're not that bad. And then suddenly I've gone back and I'm like, oh, there's this whole animated multiple seasons that just adds to this story so much and elevates these characters that I already enjoyed even more so. And we got some incredible performances. It's like this grew my love for Star Wars massively. And like you say, for some people, it was their opening to Star Wars. Essentially, it was Dave laying the land for what he knew was going to be the future fans of Star Wars and would support. And like he knew, I need to get these people hooked at this age, and because I'm going to be the one that's leading them through Star Wars further on, so I can lay my groundwork now, and they're going to love it, the payoff in the future. It's it adds
It's
so
quite
much.
ironic that you said you never understood the hate for prequels growing up, because I realized when I was a child watching X-Men Origins Wolverine, I didn't actually hate it. I didn't think it was great. I wasn't like, oh my god, I love that film so much. But I didn't hate it. I was like, oh, it was okay. It was fun. Wolverine was there. That guy with like the laser eyes and the swords coming out of his arms was kind of cool. Because I didn't know what had been stolen from me.
Yeah.
And it was only really recently I actually realized that. I was like, I actually started to hate. I like disliked it more as I understood the source material more and like realized what we'd missed out on. Whereas originally it was just like a kind of fun film that I had to like seen and it was okay. But as always, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine doesn't really go too far wrong, which is why I didn't hate it initially. And Ryan Reynolds' first appearance as Deadpool.
Yeah.
As Wade Wilson.
I have to say, I think when I think back to when it came out, I don't feel like I walked away from seeing it and being like, oh, this was terrible. I feel like, oh, that was a cool to get to see Wolverine's origin, and like it's Hugh Jackman, so we're getting to see like our Wolverine's origin of what we've known from the X-Men films. It's like, oh, this is cool. We're getting like an origin film before they were played out. And it's like, but then I feel like I remember being like, oh, the ending was a bit, that guy at the end was a bit weird. Because I don't think I really knew much about Deadpool properly then. And I'm just like, that was a weird that they would like sew his mouth up and he's like, this, it was fun. Like, we know where Wolverine came from now and how he got his adamantium claws.
Do you remember what other very high profile and popular mutant was in that film? Because a lot of people forget.
Well, Wolverine's brother was in there, right?
Yeah, Sabretooth was in it.
Yes.
There is another one though. And you're going to remember the second I say it, but it's such a forgettable role in the film.
You said he. I don't know.
Gambit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He goes right.
He's the guy who drops him off at the final battle and is like, instead of him being like kind of French or whatever, they make, or like, sorry, he's not actually French. He's supposed to be from like New Orleans, I think.
Yeah,
They make him like Texan for some reason. It's kind of weird.
yeah. I forgot that
Yeah,
completely.
exactly. And Gambit should never ever be forgettable.
True.
Gambit's the fucking goat. If Gambit shows up in Deadpool 3, I might, even though I hate dressing up for Halloween, a Gambit Halloween costume might be necessary. Fuck it, should we do a Halloween episode this year where we both have to put on a costume? Just sit like idiots for 2 hours recording in a costume.
Ah, that sounds fun.
He just exhaled there like, why did you mention that while we were recording? How well has it aged?
I mean,
So for Clone Wars, initially I put age is better with every new Disney Plus show. Too much filler, however. My additional comments, Ahsoka confirms this. Once again, another new Disney Plus show's come out, and what's everyone talking about again? Clone Wars.
Yeah, and Rebels. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I agree. It's that thing where what I said previously, where Dave essentially, unknowing to us, was setting some amazing groundwork for future content and building out this Star Wars universe, and it's paying off.
There's lots of jokes about he is the blueprint. Dave Filoni really went, fuck, he is the blueprint. I'm going to make an actual goddamn blueprint.
Yeah, like it is. You're right. As it's the more it ages and the more Star Wars stuff that comes out, the more that Dave's playing into it and using it as to tie in stuff, and we're all getting the love, the amazing nostalgia effects of seeing Anakin in Clone Wars armor and stuff. But like you say, there is a lot of filler. But I mean, that's part and parcel with the type of animated TV show that it was. It's kind of to be expected.
It is a symptom of American media being like 24 episodes or get the fuck out.
Yes.
But yeah,
it works. That filler stuff I feel works better in Clone Wars because in a way the filler stuff made us all fall in love more with the clones.
The filler stuff, while it is filler, and for the first watch through, I would say don't skip anything. It makes the universe feel more lived in.
Yes.
And that's all the filler episodes are there for. It's just to give you more universe. That's it.
Yeah, and to make the clones feel like people. That's it.
How well has it aged? Wolverine. Overall, very, very, very poorly, but it did eventually lead to Ryan Reynolds as actual goddamn Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as time went on, people realized how bad it was. And I would say even, yes, it's led to Ryan Reynolds got to actually do a proper portrayal of Deadpool, which then in a way showed how really how bad his previous representation was. I still think, like, from Wolverine's side, the origin showing it wasn't that bad. I don't think that's poorly aged. It's just you look back at it now and you're like, yeah, it was an origin film. Like, it is what it is. Just the overall story kind of let it down, unfortunately.
100%. Rewatchability. I'll be honest. Previously, I said meh for rewatchability of the Clone Wars just because of how long it is.
Yeah.
Ahsoka's kind of giving me the itch. I might have to go find one of them lists of like
the important stuff.
Like what arcs, like what episodes of certain arcs, and just go and watch like my favorite arcs again.
I think I said this a couple weeks or last week about Ahsoka, is that it's really making me want to go back and watch the prequels and Clone Wars and Rebels again. And it's like, previously, had you asked rewatchability, I would have said, yeah, too much filler. It's a very big commitment. Sure, if you went back and watched it through with like a important list. Like you could rewatch it. Now I'm just like, I'm gonna fuck. I'll rewatch this. I need to go back and relive this.
After The Boys, though, yeah.
Nah, before.
Oh, you're gonna binge all of Clone Wars and The Boys before next.
Yeah, did I tell you that I can stop time? X-Men though.
Rewatchability for Wolverine, 1 out of 10. I will. If I've got a broken leg, I will not get up to turn it off. That is about how
I was gonna say, like, it's one of those films that if the family are all together watching TV and someone's like, "Oh, this is like it's just on in the background," I ain't gonna like. I'll leave it. I can't really turn it off. I'll like pay attention here and there, but it's nothing more than that.
If me and you want to get drunk, order pizza, watch purposefully shit movies to laugh at some bad stuff in it, this film I will watch in that situation.
The only way that I would pick to rewatch this is I am drunk and I want to watch something on TV and I have no internet access. And I'm like, well, this is the only film on, so I guess I'm watching X-Men Origins.
Yes, exactly.
It's that sort of situation.
Story! This has not changed for Clone Wars. It has smaller arcs, some of which are unbeatable.
Yep.
And it just has a lot of filler that's very skippable. Which, for a show that initially aired on Cartoon Network for children, is much better than anyone can reasonably expect.
Yeah. It was able to have filler short arcs that did actually get you to like care about some of the clones, but overall didn't really mean anything. But at the same time, it was playing in and growing this larger story, making us unknowingly really fall in love with certain characters that didn't get the best light shone on them in the films. So the story for a kids animated show was a lot deeper and a lot bigger than we realized, really.
Yeah.
X-Men, it's an origin film. It's the same old comment, and unfortunately the story didn't go that well.
I enjoyed the story conceptually.
Okay.
It was really poorly executed. There are a couple bits that just shouldn't have happened. Deadpool being done the way he was done makes 0 sense. But the Project X stuff, like the Black Merc team they were a part of, he goes, no, we're going too far. They try and kill him, and it doesn't work, but wipes his memory. I'm okay with that. They just did it poorly.
Yeah, I would say.
I don't think the story is the problem with this film.
Yeah, it had the potential, like the origin story for Wolverine. The potential was there. There was good layup, but they just dropped the ball, like partway through it. Like it just like they lost it.
Acting.
I mean, in X-Men Origins, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. Like, easiest. Like, we already knew him as Wolverine. Expected. He did that role like a Tuesday for him. Like, just wake up. I am Wolverine. I do the job. Job's good. Clone Wars. We got some of the best voice acting performances. That, and I'll say maybe Rebels, but Clone Wars also, that just across the board, some great performances from the voice actors.
I think it's always important to add context to these discussions. Like I said, this show was made to sell toys initially, and be Star Wars content on after-school TV for children on Cartoon Network. The voice acting did not need to be anywhere near as good as it was. Sam Witwer did not need to cook so hard as Darth Maul.
He elevated. Everyone already loved Darth Maul for the few moments that he got in the films. His moments are brief. And everyone was like, oh my god, this character is so fucking cool. Then Sam Witwer came along and was just like, let me make it better. And the man went to town. And we fucking ate.
Beasted, yeah. Wolverine, I mean, it was okay. I think the script was poor, which really, really hurt their ability to be anything other than okay. Hugh Jackman was good, but
he can't really be bad as Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean, the bits where like the action scenes are good in this film, they are, and it seems like they focus more on getting the action right instead of worrying about the quality of the script.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And as a result, like, it sucks for the actors to get marked down for that, but I can only go back to what my eye sees, and the acting didn't set the world alight.
No, it didn't.
But I do think that's probably more due to the script. Cinematography. I would say overall, this is the weakest category for both of these.
Yeah. I would say Clone Wars. It's so tough because early seasons, I would say very weak. Or their weakest, like, but as that series went on, that, like, when you think of the final season, like, there's some masterpiece of shots in that.
See, I think it's a little bit unfair to use the final season to boost
Oh, no.
this cinematography score because that was done for Disney Plus.
Oh, I know.
It wasn't the Force 24 episodes. It was like, here's the 10 episodes you actually want to do, Dave. Just round it off.
It had a great, like, it got better.
100%.
But I would say it all kind of like balanced out to, it was okay, but it was nothing spectacular. At the end of the day, it was an animated show.
100%.
It had its limits.
Like I said, like I've written down here, it's not a massively unique animation style, but it is solid. It doesn't fail. At no point you're like, oh, this looks horrid. It does a more than passable job. X-Men Origins Wolverine, the most bland, basic 2000s action film you've ever seen. Visually, the most appealing part is Hugh Jackman's arms. The only thing I can really give it any credit for are like the bone claws are like quite.
What about Ryan Reynolds' abs?
Yeah, but then they also sewed his mouth shut and made him
True.
bald, so
True. The practical effects on that were very good, though.
They're okay. I'm not sure I'm saying very good.
Gotta give it something. Come on.
At the end of the day,
yeah,
there is a very clear winner here.
There is.
It is, of course, Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, X-Men Origins Wolverine came from a kind of joke round of just shit films.
Yeah.
That I think Corey expected me to put something really good up against it. And
I don't know
what
I thought you'd put against it.
Shit.
I was just... It was... Yeah, it was a bit of a joke pick. And I wanted to get something X-Men that wasn't like just the X-Men films, because then that's just something more interesting.
But there we go. We have our first winner of round 2.
Anakin
Clone Wars
reigns supreme.
Comes out on tops. Next week.
Oh.
Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah. Ooh.
Versus Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Thank God that one wasn't this week.
Yeah, it might have. Things might have swayed.
Yeah. But that is it from us this week.
Yes.
Bada bing, bada boom. Next week, we'll be wrapping up Ahsoka.
Yes, the Ahsoka finale.
We'll be doing our final thoughts before Loki episode 1.
Oh, yes, we will.
Because even though it will be coming out before the episode comes out, we'll be recording it before the episode comes out because time zones. And we'll be discussing Gen V episode 1. Won't we, Hori?
What have I done?
He's painted himself into such a corner. I can't wait to remind you on Tuesday that you said we were going to watch it just for you to go, ah, shit.
Smile
Make
away,
sure you like-
boys. Smile away.
make sure you've liked, make sure you're subscribed, and we will catch you in the next one.
We'll see you next week.